Your home for our Atlanta Falcons, Hawks, and Atlanta United. Your teams play here. Sports Radio 92.9, The Game.
Dukes and Bell on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. We start off every day and every hour by saying, hey, man! We got a lot to chop up, a lot to talk about today. And Matt Ryan did an interview with Jeff Schultz from The Athletic. Jeff wrote for the AJC for many years and was a columnist. And Mike, to start there today, after our interview with Arthur Smith yesterday, which we hope you heard and we hope that you went and checked out. If you didn't, it's on Odyssey.com. You can check it out. But I just want to lay this out because the one thing that Mike has been saying, and whether you agree with it or not, is, hey, we should have gotten a better feel for Ridder last year, okay? And the only way you do that is you play him earlier last season. But that didn't happen, and we know what played out, and now we get into this year, and he played 4 games last year, and now, we're heading into week 7, and he's our starter. Right. So we would have had a better feel for what his skill set is, what he might have looked like with this offense. The pieces haven't changed for the most part, guys. The same offensive line was there at the end of the season. Bijan, add him to the mix. Pitts was out, but you still had Drake London. And this is something Matt Ryan said in this piece with Jeff Schultz, Mike, was talking about playing him last year and giving him maybe more time to grow into this position.
Yeah, and as I said, during the handoff, we were just talking before the commercial break ended, I was like, it's crying over spilt milk because you can't go back to last year. It's just, just give us credit. There was something on Dukes and Bell we were saying, basically half the season. There's a ceiling. Told you this last summer that Mariota is what he's just a dude. He's not anything special. And because the division was attainable, we all know, we're going to roll with the guy that had more experience. And unfortunately, you stunted the growth of Desmond Ridder, at least knowing what you had.
Yeah.
And now, I don't want to find out what I've got with a guy who's going to win some, lose some in a season where we're good enough to win the division, maybe win a playoff game. Because we can hang with almost anybody defensively. We just need to score 21 points a game, which we can't do right now on a regular basis. So it's frustrating. I'm frustrated at the general manager along with the coach, not just Arthur Smith, because we could have drafted a quarterback that was better than Desmond Ridder in this draft. And we decided to roll the dice with this guy, and I think it's a mistake.
Matt Ryan also mentions, as many of you may or may not know, he threw a 62-yard touchdown pass to Michael Jenkins. That's how his career started. And everybody's like, as we should have been, right? You felt like you got the right guy when you make an explosive play like that. But then he alludes to the fact that he was 3 for 17 in the first half, I think, the week later. And then he talks about 3 for 15 with 36 yards and 2 interceptions against Tampa Bay in his second game. We go through these struggles. Matt went through these struggles. And this is where we're at. And yesterday when we talked about this with Coach, did he give us the full gamut of what we should be expecting as to how everything is working? No. But, Mike, I do feel like with this process of starting Desmond Ridder, and you knew this going into the season, this is a learning on the job situation. This is what it is, guys. And everybody's going through it that's starting a new quarterback in this league right now, whether it's Bryce Young, whether it's C.J. Stroud. It was Anthony Richardson before he got hurt. And now, this is how I look at this, Mike. So I don't know. I'm not as disappointed maybe as some people with how this has gone because I know this is part of the process. If it doesn't get better, he makes this decision very easy for this front office, guys. He makes this decision very easy, I think, for Arthur Smith. But if it gets better, Mike, then you do still have to make a decision on, is he good enough to take you where you want to go, or do you go in a different direction? But that has to play out through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the 08 season with Matt Ryan, there was a pretty good skeleton of a defense that Mike Smith inherited. Rich McKay, he had some, like everybody else, he had some clunkers, he had some good pieces, but the defense was decent, and you had Michael DeBurner-Turner, and Roddy White was here. You had pieces, just like we've got pieces with Bijan and Drake and Pitts, and so it's you could argue that Matt Ryan was a first-round pick for a reason. Ridder was a third-round pick for a reason. They wanted a new face of the franchise who could put all that weight on his shoulder. It was more than just football. It transcended football. You needed a guy that could handle it, what Matt Ryan had to deal with, post Mike Vick. But he was, better than Ridder was in his first year. Now, he only threw 16 touchdowns that year because they didn't ask him to do as much because they ran the football, which is what I kind of thought. We're not going to win football games and Ridder throwing 300 yards a game or 40-some-odd times a game. That's just not going to happen. So I'd love to see us get to the balance that Mike Smith's 2008 Falcons had. That was a very much ground and pound type attack.
Well, he threw for 300 and we did win. the week before last, right, against the Texans.
But we lost the Jaguars game in London because of his picks. We lost the game last week because of his picks.
Yeah.
And we're going to lose more games because of his picks.
To say, though, that he can't throw for 300 yards and we can't win.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay, there's one. Yeah, but I mean, we got to win. Now we got to win on the road next. That's next for him.
Here's the thing: he's got 6 touchdowns. Are you willing to tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks that Desmond Ridder won't throw 10 more touchdowns in 11 weeks?
I sure hope. Look, I hope he does, because guys, we're stuck with him. We're stuck with him. Whether he's going to be, we're going to sing whatever this guy is going to be, because they screwed it up last year. We're stuck with him. So let's hope he does figure it out, because this team is good enough to be in the playoffs. And as you can tell, I'm irked.
Why?
Because they blew it last year. Sit Mariota's average, stinking, mediocre butt, and let's see what we've got with Ridder. They should have started Ridder after the Carolina game here in Atlanta against a bad Bears team. But we had to monkey around, and all we got was 4 games out of Ridder. So we go into this season, and then we don't even let him play in the preseason, but 1 quarter. So this is, again, on Arthur Smith and the Brain Trust. Why are we just finding out now what this guy is when we've spent $100-some-odd million to fix every other thing on this team?
Yeah, listen, I don't know as far as if this was simply the plan, as this is how they wanted to go about it. I told you yesterday, Mike, if they wanted a veteran quarterback, they could have went out and got one. They chose not to. They chose this route. And by the way, Mike's point about Matt Ryan being a first-round pick, you're going to get more chances to screw up when you're a first-round pick. You just are. And you are willing to go through the rigmarole like the Carolina Panthers are going through right now, being 0-6 with Bryce Young, because he's their guy. Frank Reich's not coming off of that. He's going to start the rest of the season. He was the first overall pick. He will get ample opportunity to show that he can handle a team and be a franchise quarterback. I don't know if the leash is that long for Desmond Ridder. Or should it? I don't even know. Or should it be? I don't know, Mike. But I will say this. All this fussing about what we should have done is like talking about your old marriage. It means nothing. Like, what are you going to do this week against Tampa Bay and the next week against the Titans and the Vikings and the Cardinals? And if he screws up, we'll kill him and we'll tell you as much and we'll tell you that they've got to make a change. But I cannot do anything about what happened last season. And I respect Matt's opinion about, hey, we should have saw him last year. But Matt also says, guys, and this is a direct quote, it's Dukes and Bell at Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. What you're going to see in October and November will give you a full season to evaluate where he's at. Ridder has 10 career starts, and he says the areas, Matt Ryan, you're looking for growth are situational plays. That's what happened last weekend. He screwed that up. Situational football got us beat. Can he get better at it? 3rd and 2, throwing an interception, 3rd and 7, Mike? I'm hoping he can. The clock situation, that's more on coach, in my opinion. But this is what Matt is saying. Hey, we're going to find out over the next 2.5 months.
So we won 11 games, went to the playoffs in Matt Ryan's first season. You're prepared to go 8-9 this year as we learn about Desmond Ridder's abilities?
I'm prepared to see if we have a future
Okay, so you're
quarterback.
telling me you're cool with not going to the playoffs if this guy continues to lose football games. The learning curve of Desmond Ridder takes us right out of the playoffs potential.
When you say prepared to go to the playoffs, let me ask you guys.
So you don't think this is a playoff caliber team with competent quarterback play?
No. I do think we have elements of a playoff team, all right? I don't know if we put it all together quite yet, but there are elements where you say, if this continues, the defense, the special teams play, even though we gave up a big punt return, there are things that you go, hey, we've been pretty good at. But there are also things that are not on Desmond Ridder. Pass blocking, the number of sacks that have been given up, the inability to run the football effectively at times. That's not on Ridder. But, Mike, if I would ask you right now, for everybody who's saying, hey, we can go to the playoffs, many of you listening right now would saying, this ain't a playoff team to begin with.
Well, I can't speak to that. There's always, fair weather fans in this town and guys who jump on the bandwagon and off, and guys after, 2 losses are, prepared to go, ugh. Well, Matt Ryan in his rookie year never lost 3 out of 4. That's Ridder can check that off. He's done that. He's also thrown a bunch of bad picks, which cost you the game. I mean, the coach. Now, look, you laid it out. Offensive line has had some bad moments this season. And I'm disappointed in the run game. They've got to get the run game on track. Because if the one thing about Matt Ryan, why was Matt Ryan so successful? Why they won 11 games? They ran the ball up the yin-yang with Michael the Burner Turner. I think it was right up there. I mean, it wasn't as much as Jamal Anderson, but it's got to be one of the top 5 as far as attempts in rushing in the history of this franchise. Because they knew to play the strengths. So, and that was also a nasty offensive line that we thought we had going this season, too. So I'm not putting it all on Ridder, but I'm just disappointed that this is a team which we've already cost this 2 games. We could be 5-1 right now because we're going to have to learn about Desmond Ridder.
Where are you guys at on this? Matt Ryan saying we will learn more over the next couple of months to see where our quarterback's at. 404-726-0929. He talked with Jeff Schultz from The Athletic, and we're talking about that article with you guys.